Hello, fellow denizens of YouTube and hopeful future subscribers, and welcome to the very first episode of TPV, Team Puddle Versus. This week we're actually going to be covering a topic that is so beloved by everybody for some odd reason.
One of the literary greats, Shakespeare, the horrible hack that he is.
Oh, and just for the horrible, piles of crap that a lot of his most praised work is, and how, honestly, while it may or may not sell well nowadays, whether or not he's actually gotten famous with it. So, we're actually going to be covering one topic in specific.
Shakespeare. It's Twilight, hundreds of years before Twilight was a thing. People say that Twilight ripped off Shakespeare, but it actually has the spirit of the work just right, and it is just as intellectually stimulating.
Oh, yes. So, of course, by this we mean everyone's favorite, Romeo and Juliet. So, to kick off the episode, let's just lay down the basics of what the story is. So we have a guy at the beginning who's totally in love with this girl. He's not able to see her, he's not able to talk to her, and he's just pining and crying his heart out over it.
He's basically one step away from being suicidally depressed over this girl. Guess who it is? Not Juliet.
His friends and cousin decide, well, you know what? In order to cheer you up, let's take you to this party, see if we can get you some tang, just let's cheer you up so you stop being such a whiny bitch. And, of course, what happens? He goes to the party, and who does he fall in love with? Juliet. Well, wait, why is Juliet at this party? Oh, it's the Capulet family party. Okay, well, that makes sense. Wait, Romeo was convinced to go to this party because his friend said, well, maybe you'll see this girl at this party, because it's her family. So, first off, that says, okay, well, Juliet and this girl are related, as they're cousins. He's fallen in love with a girl, and then goes to a party, and they've said that he's been in love with this girl for exactly 2 fucking weeks. Goes to this party and falls in love with her cousin. In one night.
Not to mention she's just turning 14 and way too young to have any idea of what actual love is. She's like a 14-year-old nowadays. There really is no difference mentally speaking. It might have been acceptable back then, but she's still not emotionally ready.
Wait.
And neither is he. He's 16.
Oh, okay, well, so he's an older guy who's now taking advantage of a younger girl and just tearing apart her feelings with his love. The two of them are the heirs of their families, sworn enemies, who are, well, first off, just placing their families in danger by doing this. They've known each other for exactly one night, and they're already making vows to one another and talking about the true love that they're in, which, to be fair, is actually a pretty fair analysis of how young love is.
The whole thing, as far as I've calculated, takes place in about 2 or 3 days between when they meet, when they get married, and eventually kill themselves.
That's right. In the span that it takes most of us to, say, finish getting a huge pile of laundry done or just to get the entire house clean, 3 days seems like it's a pretty fair assumption of that time, right? Yeah, it took for these people to fall in love, for Romeo to kill her cousin, for Romeo's friends to die, for
them to get married in secret.
In secret, yeah. And then for Romeo to be banished and to run off, for Juliet to fake killing herself, for Romeo to get the message that, oh, she's gonna kill herself, to run back, to die, then for Juliet to kill herself. It took 3 days for this to happen.
And he was desperately in love with her cousin right at the start of the play. He's clearly not in the right emotional frame. She's too immature to possibly understand what actual love is. They've ruined their entire lives, made completely nothing but horrible, horrible choices, and killed themselves over a 3-day romance.
Not only that, but they've further just dishonored their families by doing so. 3 days, and the 2 heirs of the family are now dead, as well as Romeo's best friend, who, by the way, happens to be related to the fucking prince, and Juliet's cousin, Tybalt, who was actually doing a pretty decent job of being a cousin. He was concerned for Juliet.
Falling madly in love with this guy after a day, who's also her mortal enemy.
And just decided to tell him to back the hell off. He accidentally wound up killing one of Romeo's friends, sure, but Romeo just straight up went out and killed the guy for trying his best to be a good family member and watch out for the rest of his kin. And this is our hero. Our hero, the one that we are supposed to be rooting for. Sure, at the beginning, it is questioned whether or not these people truly found love, but it seems pretty heavily implied that that's the direction that it was going in the whole time.
Yeah, 3 days. It's just as literaturally sound as Twilight. Makes just as much sense, and it's just as pandering towards tweens.
Exactly. I mean, there's a reason that this story is taught in high school. Because nowadays we look upon it as, wow, these people really fucking did this? Well, wait, let's show it to the people who are actually this age and try and teach them what dumb shits they are.
They actually feel the need to sympathize with this. Children, teens, tweens, they all actually idolize Romeo and Juliet. There are songs, various different movies, a few of which are insanely badass, but still, people actually idolize Romeo and Juliet and think that they're the tragic star-crossed lovers for 3 days. They were in love for 3 days before killing themselves. Because of all the horrible decisions they made up until that point.
That's not even bringing up the horrible, horrible, horrible Taylor Swift song, which by the way, just totally raised the bar further for how shitty she could get, in which she seemed to miss the entire point of what the story was. By having Romeo and Juliet fall in love, Romeo drop to his knees and ask Juliet's father, i.e., the person who despises him, in particular the most in the world, to marry her. The two of them getting married riding off into the sunset. That's the exact opposite
of what actually happened. Happy ending! But it's not a Shakespeare play. And I think he understood exactly what dipshits they were, which is why he had it end so badly.
Right. Which is also why he added the question of whether or not there was true love in the prologue of the actual story. But this kind of change to what the entire story was actually goes to the exact opposite point.
It completely contradicts his prologue, simply how he portrays it. Also, I should probably bring up the ending where all of a sudden the families are buddy-buddy now that they've lost their children over their petty feud. That's not what happened at all. Romeo seduced their daughter, so they should go back and get revenge on him and his entire family.
In fact, having both families lose a member due to this isn't going to drive them closer together, in all likelihood, because remember, the Capulets didn't lose one family member, they lost two.
They both did, really, and don't forget Mercutio. I am peppered.
Yeah, but Mercutio was again the cousin of the prince.
Yeah, but wasn't he also a Romeo?
No, that you're thinking of Benvolio.
Oh yeah, Benvolio.
No, but first off, both people losing members, one of them losing two. It's not going to go into, oh, well, let's bond our families so that this tragedy never happens again. No, it's going to boil down to Juliet's family wanting complete, utter vengeance on the Montagues, as well as the Montagues wanting the Capulets to pay for what their little harlot did to their sweet young boy. It's going to drive them further apart, and instead drive the violence on this feud up to 10%.
Wasn't it just sort of mentioned at the end that Juliet's mother died of a heart attack, too, after losing her... or died of sadness after losing her daughter?
Yeah, it's...
because she faked her death, and then actually killed herself?
Right, it's an offhand comment, because, you know...
Who cares about the mother? She doesn't... Does she get a single line in the book? She just... all of a sudden, bam, now she's dead, and we're supposed to deal with that?
I think she had a few lines, or maybe I'm just thinking of the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, which is actually... badass when we were mentioning earlier.
Romeo plus Juliet.
Goddamn.
I can't remember whether she had any lines or not. I know the maid does, where she first introduces us to the fact that Juliet's only 14.
Julieta!
But I don't think her mother actually gets any lines, and now just suddenly at the end she's mentioned as being dead. That is horrible screenwriting right there, and we wouldn't tolerate that if it wasn't Shakespeare.
Very true. I mean, look at the standards we hold people up to nowadays. Michael Bay gets completely just torn apart for having girls walk around showing their boobs and just basically not even being characters to begin with, as well as all the racist crap that goes on. And he really should. He should be called out on all of those, but why aren't we going to call out Shakespeare just because his were first? That's, again, the same question that we have to pose when people bring it up Generation 1 of Pokemon being so superior to everything else. Just because it's older doesn't mean it gets a pass for all the bullshit in it. Just because old cartoons and comic strips were racist because that's how they were, doesn't mean they get a pass. They're complete and utter bullshit because of it. And we shouldn't be endorsing and talking and debating as to whether or not this is quality crap, because it's not.
Speaking of which, I think we found our next topic.
Oh, that's actually true. I mean, think about it. There's a ton of fucked up shit that goes on in Shakespeare. We have all of the misogyny and just horrible treatment of women, the Taming of the Shrew.
Don't forget the Generation 1 and relying exclusively on I can't remember.
Nostalgia?
Nostalgia.
Yeah, well, and of course the Generation 1 of Pokemon relying entirely on nostalgia. There's a lot of fucked up shit in this world, but going back to Shakespeare, I mean, you have that, then you also have just the complete horrible portrayals of everybody in King Lear. Just another story that just says, fuck you! The terrible and convoluted plot of, let's not say the word of the emplate. What is it again?
Is that Macbeth? I don't know Shakespeare.
Yeah, it would be Macbeth. The horrible writing. I mean, we picked apart a lot of video game movies and a lot of other crap for, oh, this didn't make any sense at all. This was completely terrible. Neither did Macbeth. You go around, then you throw witches into the mixture, and then nothing makes sense.
Except for the fact that his wife continually is the one who drives everything forward when she tells him to grow a pair of balls and kill the king.
Right.
She's the one who wants everything. She's the main bad guy of the book, and she tries to convince him to do everything so that she can get to the top.
Because once again, in Shakespeare stories, women are the most evil, horrible things ever.
They're either helpless ladies you have to save, the horrible little Misa Amanes of Shakespeare, or horrible seductresses who will just steal your soul and convince you to do horrible things, like try and become a king.
Right. And that's actually why the term Lady Macbeth is now used as a negative portrayal for female characters. Laurie Grimes from The Walking Dead, somehow Skylar White from Breaking Bad, and just several other women in TV and movies are called Lady Macbeths because of this exact crap that goes on. It all just doubles back to the fact that, we have to admit it. A majority of us have been trained to be misogynistic against women. We come to expect these things, and we just take them for naturally as what they are. Even when there's some of the most messed up crap that's ever been penned. Not to mention the sheer racism of Othello. I mean,
everyone just refers to him as the Moor, as like a black Muslim. That's all he is to them.
Exactly. I mean, just remember her father. Just, oh, what are you doing? The thing that clearly came off as just another racist rant from Bigoted Dad, which, by the way, was kind of ahead of its time, given the fact that this is the plot we see dragged out in so many movies nowadays, ranging from the 50s to last fucking year. But
you have any examples? That sounds fun. Name some examples.
Okay, well, let's, first off, let's go off the original Dawn of the Dead, in which Dwayne Jones' character is the final survivor of the entire thing, except for the main girl. He's just sitting there in the house, and then the whole militia of people happens to come by. And we're talking about the original movie, not the remake in which he's actually a zombie. And he's just sitting there in the house, just thinking about how he's won. And the sheriff and all of the town militia come by, see him in the house. And it's very clear that, given the fact that the entire movie is itself a analogy for racism, decide to shoot him. Like, oh, one of them Negroes survived! Bam! We can't have a Negro living, even though he's the only actual good character in the movie and the only person who survived, just because he's black, and that's completely fucked up. Let's think. Oh, there's actually a really good example of the opposite, something that was incredibly well handled for those of you who haven't seen the movie Lakeview Terrace, in which Sam Jackson plays a cop who is incredibly bigoted against this interracial couple that's moved in next door of a black woman and a white man. The man played by Patrick Wilson, and was the woman played by Zoe Saldana? I can't entirely remember. I'm not very good with actors. But basically, we get to see a parallel of what we constantly have been shown of some white guy being bigoted against the black people next door, or the mixed couple next door where the husband's black and there's a white wife. And it actually ends in a very, very good way that makes you question everything you've seen up until that point. Oh, we have actually gotten way off topic at this point.
We have, but I still feel we should mention, you know how in movies you would never see a black man with a white woman, unless that's the whole point of the movie?
Oh, of course.
Like, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? We're still afraid of the Negroes stealing our white women. Yeah. I feel like that should be brought up since we're on the topic of racism.
Very true. It's actually another topic that really does need to be brought up. Is interracial couples cannot exist in any movie or TV show unless it's either a plot that's constantly brought up, or the entire point of what's going on. As you said, with...
Especially black woman with white man. That's just something you will never see.
Oh,
occasionally you'll see interracial couples go the other way, but never that way.
Right, whenever there's an interracial couple, it's always going to be of a black man and a white woman, because, oh my god.
Other way. Black woman, white man.
I've never seen that.
Really?
It's always black man, white woman. Like, every movie, every TV show is always black man, white woman.
I remember studying this a while back, and it was the exact opposite way.
No, I've Lakeview Terrace is actually the only movie in which I've ever seen a black woman with a white man. Especially recently, because it's one of the biggest things. Is if you want to have a couple that seems very modern, oh, well, let's just make the husband black and then have a white woman, because that's going to get some people talking. Even though it's 2015, or last year, 2014, it really shouldn't matter at this point. Why can't we explore other couples? The only other one we ever see would be usually among teenagers or college movies in which there's a black man and an Asian woman. Why can't we move past just showing, oh, well, the black man is stealing this race, the black man is stealing this race? Why can't we go on to see other things, like an Asian man and a white woman, if you want to make race such an important part of the story? How about you don't do something that has been overplayed?
You know, we should probably get back on topic. I do feel we've got off topic
really
now.
should. We've gone from Romeo and Juliet to discussing race relations.
We're probably going to have to cut both of this out.
We're going to have to cut basically this entire part out.
Yeah. So now we have no idea how long we've actually been going on for.
Well, we've actually been going for about 15 minutes, I counted. Or I kept track of when we got on this topic.
Alright. We might be able to reuse this for another video. Who knows?
Yeah, let's...
So to those people in the future video, see you then! For everyone else, let's just keep going now.
Yeah, well, we're probably going to cut that out, too. Well,
it made me happy!
What haven't we discussed?
Romeo and Juliet, what part haven't we discussed yet? I think we've covered just about everything we can with the nurse.
We've covered everything with the Capulets and Montagues.
Let's
go over the, let's go over the priest, who is entirely terrible at his job of keeping teens moral and just doing the exact opposite of everything they do in the story.
Hey, we just met 2 days ago. We want to fuck, but we want God to be okay with it. Can you marry us in secret so our families will get along because we did this completely without their approval?
Oh, sure, Romeo. I've known you my whole life. I can't see anything bad with that. Here, let's get you married.
Maybe this will help you get over that other girl you were pining over 2 days ago. I'm pretty sure he says specifically that. Like, not exactly quote, but I'm pretty sure he says that.
Not only that, but then he also provides the means for Romeo's escape. He also has the message from Juliet delivered to Romeo, which of course didn't make it, but he still authorized and sent somebody to go and send the message to Romeo.
How was he not arrested?
How is he even anything symbolic of a priest? This is the exact opposite of what he should be doing. Especially if he's trying to keep in right with those standards they had for Christianity back then.
I mean, the church was corrupt, but goddamn, this isn't corruption, this is just him being a dipshit.
This is just terrible priesthood and just...
He thought that this would bring the families together. And in the end, the book said he was right, but there's no possible way that was actually the case, as we covered.
And how is it going to bring the families together if it's done in secret and they're planning to run away together? His plan never made sense from the very beginning.
Each one will assume that the other simply seduced and or kidnapped their child.
Thus again bringing out the total warfare that we brought up earlier.
It was literally war on the streets right at the beginning of the book, and he's willing to try and reflame that just because he thinks it might bring them together based on no evidence?
Honestly, there's
Oh, but it's the power of love. Don't you have any faith in love, Toby? Teen love? Love at first sight of some girl he wasn't in love with before and he was in love with her cousin?
No, because you see, the thing about love is that it's not something you can just bring up, that you can just bring up and have develop in a day. It's something that takes time after getting to know a person. Hell, I don't even use the word until I truly mean it, because you shouldn't. Because otherwise you're just taking a word and flanderizing it until it basically just is something you say. It loses all of its meaning when you start throwing it out there towards everything.
But they had that one lovely scene where they just discussed kissing each other and how much they really wanted to fuck in the party, remember?
Yes.
Isn't that them falling in love?
That's falling in lust, which is another thing teens tend to do a lot. And that's why it's a very good description of how teen love typically is, and why it isn't something that should be allowed to continue. This is why no adult should ever act like the friar. This is what leads to a ton of crap. Broken homes, pregnancies.
The high divorce rate.
Yes, the incredibly high divorce rate.
Oh, let's not forget the abstinence-only training where they teach kids you have to get married if you want to get laid, so that Romeo and Juliet can play over 1,000,000 other times without the suicide at the end.
Exactly.
Instead, they just have children who grow up to do the exact same thing.
Children who wind up despising them because they see that their parents decided to get married just to have sex, hate each other because they never got to know one another. They just see all of the tension and hatred in the air of what's gone on. And they either lose faith in love entirely or just begin to hate themselves and their parents. They blame themselves for divorce.
And then they run out, meet a guy who treats them nice, they fall in love like their parents did, repeat the cycle.
Or the exact opposite. For some people, it can be that they meet someone who's the exact opposite of how their parents used to describe themselves. Someone who treats them like shit. And that just causes a whole another set, like a whole other can of worms that we're not even going to open up right now, because that would have to delve into abuse and both physical, verbal, and mental. I mean...
Another dark topic, which we'll be happy to cover some other day.
Exactly. But for right now... Seriously, Shakespeare. Fuck off.
Stop making books! I swear, if you make another book, I'm gonna come to your house and... Well, you finish that sentence. You're a good writer. Or so I've been told. I don't actually think you are.
I don't know. At this point, I think he would need a ghost writer.
Well, there is always the theory that that William Shakespeare didn't exist, and his plays were penned in 1642 by Francis Bacon, who used a Ouija board to enslave playwriting ghosts.
God damn it.
It's a fact. I heard it from the fact sphere. I might have gotten the date wrong, but other than that, it's 100% truth.
Let's also go with the theory posed by the film Anonymous, in which Shakespeare plays were literally just him taking inspiration from events that were going on literally in with royalty at the time.
To be fair, that would explain why Romeo and Juliet is so horrible and has such a horrible message. Because tweens throughout the ages are always dipshits.
That's true. But you know who's not a dipshit? You guys. Especially if you like, subscribe, watch our videos. You guys are the smartest people in the world. Definitely smarter than us here. So, until next time.
Later, losers!
God damn it, Danny.
Alright, yeah, I might have been stealing that, but I'm not entirely sure where I even stole it from anymore.
Why are we still filming?
I'm not sure, but do you know where I got that from? I know I got Later Losers from somewhere, and I feel like it was an actual thing, but I have no idea where. Please, someone tell me so I can go look up some nice nostalgia stuff.
Oh, to hint towards what we're going to be covering next time, let's just end with this line. Smell you later!